Hey everybody, we are going to get you to the show in just a moment, but for now I want to introduce myself. My name is Brian.
And I'm Sarah.
We're the hosts of the Permanent Record Podcast, and we are going to bother you just for a second before we get to the actual Richard Blade introduction, because do you know why, Sarah?
I think I do.
If you thought it's because we received our first voicemail on our special Permanent Record Podcast voicemail number, you're correct.
All right.
If you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, we mentioned that you can always reach out to us now at 724-490-8324 and leave us any thoughts that you have about any of the records that we've talked about, or your personal history, maybe a neat story that goes along with you and the album that we talked about. And we got our first call after our first Pet Shop Boys episode.
All right.
For Introspective, so we wanted to play it here on this episode. We didn't get it in time to include it in the actual episode with Andrew.
Okay.
So we have it here on the beginning of the show. Unfortunately, we don't know who it was who called. We had a mystery caller, Sarah.
Oh, mystery caller.
Yep.
All right.
So here's what the mystery caller had to say on our PRP voicemail.
Hey, everybody. The Pet Shop Boys Introspective podcast for part one, and I have a thought. I think part of the reason why the Pet Shop Boys never really had any more chart successes in the States was partially because what they released after Domino Dancing just wasn't quite catchy enough. I mean, like, Left to My Own Devices, I love that song, but I can totally see why it kind of tanked. And then they kind of released a few singles in a row that didn't really do much, and then it was just really tough for them to get back into the market. You know, radio programmers didn't want to play their music anymore. I personally think if they had somehow released very after Introspective, I think they would have had a couple more hits, because a lot of those songs just barely missed the Hot 100, which means that they were on, the minds of people and radio programmers. There just weren't enough of them to get it to actually chart. So just my 2 cents. Great album, great group. Thank you guys for doing what you're doing.
So that was our first message. Thanks again for calling in, mystery caller.
Yes, mystery caller. Thank you.
And you had some interesting points that you brought up. I sort of agree with them that if for some twist of fate in an alternate reality, if the Pet Shop Boys had released Very before Behavior, I bet you he's right. I bet you that probably would have done a little bit better on the charts.
Ooh.
I just have that feeling that it would, because Behavior was just kind of mature and dark and subdued. It's very different than actually, and what I think different from what people thought of as the Pet Shop Boys sound.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of my favorite albums.
It's excellent, but it's not exactly what you expect to hear on the radio.
Right. Even So Hard, which Andrew says in the episode, that although I may have cut it out, that So Hard was a pretty big hit over in the UK. That just doesn't have the sound of a top 40 hit to me.
No, I think you're right.
So I do think that some of the songs on Very would have been better radio hits.
Yeah, but by then it was they kind of missed their moment.
Yeah, I guess so. And the comment about the songs after Domino Dancing not being quite as radio friendly. I think I said this in our episode last week, but even though I love Left to My Own Devices, I can totally understand why that was not an American hit.
Yeah.
That verse is just not something that you would hear on our radio at the time.
No, you're right. Yeah, as much as I love the song, I would never expect to hear that on the radio, because it is just not the type of thing you would hear on the radio here.
So I think you raise a lot of good points. It's just, they're the kind of things that, unless we develop a time machine, we can't really do anything about it.
That's right. Oh, well.
But thanks for calling in. Anyone else, if you'd like to reach out to us, feel free, 724-490-8324. And now we're going to let you enjoy the episode.
Woohoo.
Hi, this is Richard Blade, and you're listening to the Blue Zone Podcast Network as it presents Permanent Record, an in-depth look at the classic albums of the 70s and 80s, albums which have earned a permanent place of honor, both in our hearts and in our record collections.
Calling the UK. Come in, Andrew Dineley.
Hello, America.
Hey.
Hello.
Glad we could get you on the horn again, my friend.
It's good to be back.
How was your week since we last talked?
It was good, it was good. I've been doing a bit of revision about the Introspective album, because I felt there were a few gaps in my knowledge last week, so I've been doing a bit of reading up. Otherwise just been doing boring things, really. Nothing exciting to report.
Gotcha.
We were never being boring.
A lot of times when we ask you how your week was since we last spoke, we're pretending because we record everything all at once.
Yeah.
But this time we're not. I was actually curious.
It is a week since we last spoke.
It is, isn't it? And that felt like a long episode last week, but the listeners don't know that we did actually speak for, was it 3 hours?
It was going on 3.
It was.
Yeah.
It was edited down to like an hour and 45 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
But the original file was like 2:48 or something. And we talked for a while before I hit record. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
We are Permanent Record Podcast. My name is Brian.
And I am Sarah.
And we're very happy to be joined once again by Andrew Dineley. I told you last week about his podcast, the Fantastic Art on Your Sleeve podcast. This week I wanted to mention that he is a contributor to Classic Pop Magazine and recently had an article in the Duran Duran special, which is probably still on the shelves, right, Andrew?
Yeah, it is, yeah. In fact, they've been plugging it again today because of Simon Le Bon's 60th birthday.
Oh, yes.
That's right. Happy birthday, Simon. And then, not this newest issue that came out just like last week, you didn't have anything in there, but the one before it, the one with Culture Club on the cover, you had an article in that one, right?
I did. I wrote a piece. I did an interview with a really good designer, a sort of photographer, collage artist called Matt Maitland, who's worked with incredible people, Prince, Michael Jackson, Goldfrapp, all sorts of very famous artists, and has a very, very peculiar and particular style. I really like his work. So he was great to interview because I wasn't sure I'd get him, but yeah, he was all over the world when I was trying to interview him, but we managed to do it over a few different interviews. So yeah, that was a good one to do. My latest one is another special. There's a George Michael special, which is coming out in 2 days' time, I think.
Oh, really?
And I've written an 8-page design feature all about Wham and George Michael as well. So,
Oh, wonderful.
yes, look out for that one.
Very cool.
You will indeed.
Did you go into some detail about the early Fantastic singles?
Some of them, yeah, because whilst the album was called Fantastic, some of the design work wasn't really. So there's no,
That's
there's
true.
just a fleeting reference to them. But I do cover the early work. It goes right from the very start to right to the very sad end. Yeah,
That sounds great. And that's
Yeah.
that's out in 2 days?
I think it's the 1st of November.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah. So by the time this podcast is available, the issue should be available as well.
That's right.
It will, yeah, for download and in all good shops. Well, in the UK anyway. I think it is available in Barnes and Noble in the States, but I think you always get it about a month behind the UK and European editions.
Yeah.
That's true. And they only seem to get, at least in ours, the monthly issues. They don't get the special.
That's a shame.
I know
Well-
I went in when the Pet Shop Boys one was coming out, the first one.
I think we ordered that one and had it shipped.
Oh, so you got a printed copy
Oh,
of it?
sure.
We
You
got
know,
two printed copies and the four
The
little
print things,
prints.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a nice one to do because obviously I know a lot about the Pet Shop Boys, so writing that article was definitely a labor of love.
Well, speaking of labor of love, that's kind of what Brian and I do here. And, you know, we're always very grateful and happy to hear other people enjoy our work. To that end, we heard from a listener, Dave Johnson, and he shared some thoughts with us that I want to share with you. He said, "You are now a regular listen for me. Your insight into the music, the breakdown of the tracks, and the amusing little side stories all keep me listening. Keep it up, guys."
Hey, well, thank you very much, Dave Johnson.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
Yep, we appreciate your kind words and the fact that you keep listening episode after episode. It
Yeah,
means a lot.
whether you like the music or not.
Speaking of feedback from our friends who listen to the podcast, we have a winner for our secret song snippet for this week.
Oh, yes.
Secret song number 9, which I sort of took over. So this week it's not Sarah's secret song snippet. We have, once again, the winner and champion. He cannot be stopped. He has too much 80s alternative music power, Mr. Heath Grannis. Actually, let me read you exactly what he said.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote to us during the week and said, "I believe this week's song is Always on My Mind in My House by the Pet Shop Boys from, you guessed it, the very album you're currently reviewing."
Yeah.
So that is it. He got it right.
Another really on the nose one.
Yep, I was trying to make it even easier than ever. It's a song we're going to talk about in 2 songs.
He's far too clever, isn't he? I think you should have been a bit naughty and said, no, it was Too Shy by Kajagoogoo.
Yeah, really throwing him off. What?
He would have known the difference right away.
Can't pull one over on him. He's too good.
That's right. So we are ready to flip the record to side 2 and start talking about the next 3 songs
On Introspective.
On Introspective.
Let's do it.
All right, so the first song on side 2, this is a song that is known and loved all over the world, and this is a song called I'm Not Scared.
What have you got to fight? What do you need to prove? You're always telling lies, and that's the only truth. I don't care, baby. I'm not scared. Tonight the streets are full of actors. I don't know why. Oh, take these dogs away from me.
Oh, what a great song. It goes along with the continued theme of them doing covers. However, this cover is a little bit different because they wrote the original song. They wrote this for Eighth Wonder, who was really Patsy Kensit and then some other people, but Patsy Kensit was the lead vocalist. And apparently she kept asking them to write a song for her. They hadn't done that for anybody. Well, they had thought about doing Heart for Madonna and then they kept it for themselves. But she was very insistent. They finally said, okay, we'll write this song for you. And then they actually produced it as well. So it was a big hit for Eighth Wonder in 1988. It was released in February and it got to number 7 in the UK. And it made the top 10 in 7 other countries.
I'm not surprised they did it for her because I would do anything Patsy asked me to do. Instantly.
You're a little bit smitten with her, aren't you?
I am. What were you going to say, Andrew?
I was going to say 800 sort of been around for about a year and hadn't really been able to have a hit. I'm talking about in the UK. I think they might have been big in Italy or somewhere or other part of Europe. But it was this single that made them into a bona fide pop group. Yeah, so thanks to the Pet Shop Boys.
Do you want to hear a little snippet of her version?
Oh, absolutely.
I have it here because I'm always thinking about her. And Andrew just mentioned that he thinks that they were popular in Italy before anywhere else. I did see that while this song was top 10 throughout most of Europe, it was like a number 1 hit in Italy.
Wow.
Ah, right. Yeah. I thought I recalled that from my dim and distant past.
Oh, that's good. Boy, I got a lot of kind of a Stacey Q vibe going on with that song.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. That's true.
The repeating sounds, and then even her voice kind of reminded me a little of Stacey Q.
I can see that, but I think she's a little better. A little better than Stacey Q.
Okay. You are really into her, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I love that version of the song. I think that the music is artificial enough to delight me. And it's produced not only by the Pet Shop Boys, but also the mix master himself, Phil Harding.
Oh, yeah.
Who I used to always love his mixes back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And her voice, while it's, maybe a bit unpolished, it's still really sexy. So.
Well, you were the only one who liked this song. And of course, due to the high rankings all through Europe, it did well. But in addition to the chart positions, Slant Magazine ranked this version, the Eighth Wonder version, number 62 in their list of 100 greatest dance songs. And that was an article they did back in 2006. So I don't know if it's changed since then.
Yeah, I saw that. I was pretty surprised.
Yeah, I was surprised at the two songs prior to it, which I do like better. Number 64 was Situation. And and number 63 was Can't Get You Out of My Head by Kylie Minogue.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I think this song was a bit of a make or break track for Eighth Wonder as well, because like I said, they had been around for a short while, but hadn't managed to get anywhere in the charts, and this single sort of changed things for them. So that you could see the record company really believe something had happened, because there were so many different versions of it, and poster versions and 12-inch versions and 10-inch versions, and I remember it just being everywhere at the time because they wanted it to be a hit, and it succeeded.
That's cool. And I think the strength of this song led to their follow-up single being a kind of maybe a minor hit.
Yes.
It did better than their usual prior tracks had been charting, but it wasn't like as big as this one.
Yeah.
So I think they got 2 hits out of that one album. And then I saw there was another song from a follow-up album that was a hit in Japan but didn't seem to bother anyone else in the world. And then I guess they called it a day after that album.
Well, she went into acting, didn't she? I mean, even around this time, I think she was a child actor, wasn't she?
Correct.
But so she was in the Absolute Beginners film with David Bowie, wasn't she?
That's right, yes.
Wasn't she married to Simple Minds singer Jim Kerr?
She was,
yes. That was...
As was who else?
She was also married to Liam Gallagher.
She was.
And Jim was also married to Chrissie.
That's right.
Yeah.
I have the hots for Chrissie, though, but not in the same way. Like, I think Chrissie is awesome, but I'm very afraid of her. Like, she could beat the crap out of me if she wanted to.
Yeah.
So I'm always respectful about her.
And that also takes a circle back to the Pet Shop Boys as well, because Chrissie Hynde did the thing at the Albert Hall with the Pet Shop Boys as well, didn't she, when they performed with a symphony orchestra?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
And also, don't forget, Chrissie Hynde did 2 songs for the James Bond movie, The Living Daylights, which the Pet Shop Boys submitted a theme song for, but were refused.
Yes, and that became This Must Be the Place I Waited Years to Leave.
That's right.
James Bond. It's unusual for you to mention James Bond.
Oh, please.
Well, it just happened to come up, so yeah, it isn't something we usually discuss, but I figured I'd just mention it.
It just seemed appropriate, didn't it?
So the Pet Shop Boys version is awesome, just like the Eighth Wonder version. Pet Shop Boys is actually a little better. And this one is produced by the Pet Shop Boys along with David Jacob, who worked with a couple other bands that we all love.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You're going to name them?
I'll drop some names.
Okay.
I'm speaking specifically about the Communards
Oh, yes.
and Erasure.
Wonderful.
He's a guy who we should find out a little bit more about.
Right.
But unfortunately, I have no other notes on him.
Okay.
So the demo for this song actually goes back pretty far. It was written the same time as Love Comes Quickly.
Oh, okay.
And they had it around for a couple years without doing much with it.
Mm-hmm.
It was an instrumental that they both thought sounded like the group Shannon.
Oh, Shannon.
Yep.
More freestyle.
Yep, more freestyle.
Oh, my gosh.
And then they ended up giving it to Eighth Wonder. Neil explains what the song is about.
Oh, yeah.
He said the idea of the song is that there's this woman who's got this horrible gangster boyfriend who's pushing her around, and she's going to stand up to him because she's not scared. The dogs are the hooligans and criminal element around them. So when I sing it, I'm doing one of my singing from the point of view of a woman songs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that explanation.
Something that is in the Pet Shop Boys song that's not in the Eighth Wonder version is they decided to make it more cinematic, and they
Yes.
set the song in 1968 Paris.
Yes.
And you know how in the last episode I learned about the British Civil War?
Yes, you did. History lesson number 1.
Yes. Well, history lesson number 2, I read up on this little period of French history. Uh-huh. So 1968 was a time of demonstrations and general strikes across the country of France, as well as occupation of universities and factories. Mm-hmm. And at the height of the fervor, it brought the entire economy of France to a virtual halt.
Wow.
And political leaders, they feared civil war. We're not going to talk about any civil war this time.
Okay.
They feared it. Never happened. But the national government itself momentarily ceased to exist because the president, Charles de Gaulle, secretly fled France just for a few hours.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep, and then came back. So the Pet Shop Boys set the song in that time period, and what they do to establish that is you hear some speeches being made, some fascist speeches that were part of a newscast. But at the end of the day, the Pet Shop Boys were told they couldn't use the voices of the media broadcasters. They could only use the speakers who were in the newscast.
Okay.
They were kind of upset by that because they had a really excellent sounding announcer voice saying, "The workers of France are marching."
Oh, wow.
And they really wanted that to be in the song, but ended up they couldn't.
Yeah, but they were able to use some newsreel music instead, or as well. With the beginning of the song, we hear what sounds like a marching band, and that is, it's a sample from the French government playing the national anthem on the streets of Paris, trying to kind of calm people down. Like, that was their plan.
Oh, okay.
So that's what that music is in the beginning.
Is that the same song that the good guys in Casablanca sing when the Germans are singing their German
La
song?
Marseillaise?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the French national anthem is. Andrew, do you know?
I don't, unfortunately.
Okay.
It's just over the water from us, but I'm not that familiar with their national anthem.
Well, we're dumb Americans. We don't always know things about other countries. So I thought maybe, being more of a global citizen, you would know.
Next time I'm in France, I'll check it out.
Oh, very good. All right. Or we could just all Google it.
Did you ever watch the movie Casablanca, Andrew?
I have seen it, not for a long time.
My dad and I watch it like once a year. We both love Humphrey Bogart, and we love that movie. And that scene where they're all in a bar and these German officers they tell the band in the bar to like play this German song, and the one officer gets on the piano and joins in, and the German officers stand up and they're singing whatever the German song is. So then some of the other good guys stand up and sing this French song, which is what was it called again?
Yeah, La Marseillaise.
Yeah. So they overpower the Germans, and the Germans eventually get quiet. And every time I watch it, I get filled with like pride. Like I get this feeling in my chest, like this is the best thing I've ever watched. I'm so proud. I feel so proud right now. And then I'm always like, wait a second,
You're not
I'm
French.
Not French. But it's so effective. The movie.
Yeah.
It always tricks me into thinking that
You're French.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So Andrew, do you have any insight into this track that we didn't mention yet?
The quote about the dogs, wasn't that a misquote? Wasn't it originally? It was from a John Betjeman poem called Senex.
Correct.
Really?
Yes. It's about, I think, a middle-aged man who's having midlife crisis or something.
So Senex is about it being disgusting to feel sexy when you're old. It's a bit sad.
That is sad. I mean, 20 years ago, I would have said, you should feel disgusting when you're old. But now that I'm almost 50, I'm like, hey, that's sad.
Yeah. It's sort of the same thing Paul McCartney is getting grief for on his new single.
Oh, yeah, For You.
Yeah. Oh, we don't want to hear about him wanting to have sex.
I love that album.
Yeah. But yeah, the actual line from the poem is, "Oh, whip the dogs away, my lord."
What's the misquote that they said, take these dogs instead of
Yeah.
whip these dogs?
Take these dogs away from me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad they did. I don't want to think about whipping a dog.
Yeah, I think that was a good choice to misquote that intentionally, perhaps.
Yeah.
Also, the Eighth Wonder version differs in that it's got the French bits in it as well, hasn't it? The French dialogue.
Oh,
where
right.
She speaks in French, and the Pet Shop Boys one doesn't have that.
No.
Doesn't.
Yep, I'm glad it doesn't because I can't sing along with that part. So I would rank this song as my second favorite track on the album.
Mine as well. Yep, that's an easy one.
Wow. Okay. I would disagree.
Andrew, do you want to join us in declaring this your second favorite song?
It's actually one of my least. I like all the songs on the album, but this would be near the bottom.
Oh, wow.
Possibly because I was so aware of the Eighth Wonder song that maybe I was a bit bored with it by the time it came out. So
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's probably probably be fourth or fifth.
That song made no impact on us over
No.
here. So, and I do remember at the time that this was coming out, seeing reviews occasionally that would say like the Pet Shop Boys cover "I'm Not Scared," and I would say, why do these reviews say it's a cover? It says right here by Tennant and Lowe. It's like obviously it's not a cover. It's telling me they wrote it. So I was confused about that for a good number of years until I became more of a world citizen and broadened my horizons to the popular music of Italy. You know, this one, I love the beginning, especially the first like minute and 30 seconds. The amount of drama in that opening is insane. I have it in all capital letters. Insane. I was trying to think of somebody else who establishes an atmosphere with music like that, and the only person I could come up with was John Barry.
Oh, wow.
It seemed like something that Barry would do for like a James Bond score or an espionage thing. I really like that.
I love the chords in this chorus. They're really good at picking these very interesting chord patterns, and I pick up on those myself and listened, and that's a really cool sound. So I looked these up as I did for Left to My Own Devices, and from what I read, the chords in the chorus are C minor, F minor repeated, then G minor 7, and C 7th repeated. So some minor sevenths and sevenths, I think that kind of adds to the atmosphere and gives me I must like seventh chords, I think.
Maybe you do. I like minor chords, I think.
Oh, all right.
And I think Neil's vocals on this one are extremely strong. I think they're a great counter argument to people who say that he doesn't really sing, that he talks. Especially, I love the part in the middle, if I was you, if I was you. I think he does a really good job on that.
I love that, except for the fact that it's grammatically incorrect. And I'm really not sure why he chose to say it that way, because he should know that were is the proper word to use, because that's the subjunctive mood. And it bothers me way more than it probably should, but I know that Neil is very intelligent. Why did he do this? Was it on purpose? Did he think that's how the character would speak?
The commentary webpage that we mentioned last week has a rather large article about that grammatical error, Sarah, and I'm sure you probably saw that.
I did.
It was an interesting read, but I mean, when you talk about tenses of verbs like that, it's hard to keep yourself focused.
Yeah.
It isn't the most exciting thing.
On that page, he says here, one of the British visitors to his website, a self-professed grammar Nazi, which I've been called as well, says that if I were you often starts sentences like, if I were you, I'd apply for that job, or if I were you, I'd dump him. That phrase, therefore, is very common, almost cliched. It is what someone says when they're about to give often unwanted advice. I think that Neil wants to disassociate himself completely from this cliche, so instead he says, if I was you, which is far less commonly encountered and so is far more meaningful.
Oh, kind of jarring the person into listening because you're saying it wrong.
Yeah.
Or differently, perhaps. I guess I won't be that mean, but to me it's still wrong. I'm sorry.
If I ever meet Neil, I'll ask him.
Yeah, find out.
I'm sure that would be the greatest first question ever. So, explain to me. But other than that, I do love the song, and I do agree with you, Brian, about the vocals in here. I think he has you can kind of hear the shift in attitude of the character throughout the song. I think the vocals and the attitude kind of get stronger and more defiant as this song goes on, especially, at the end, when, if I was you,
right.
I wouldn't treat me the way you do.
So that is enough talk about other bands and French revolutions and all that kind of thing. Let's get into a good pop song, good love song. This is, actually, it's not really a good love song.
It's not. That's why I kind of laughed. That's why I kind of laughed when you said that. It's not.
Huh. All right. Well, it's still a good song. This is called Always on My Mind in My House.
Pet Shop Boys at possibly their most imperial, perhaps. That was a massive hit here in the UK. I loved that song. I'm not a fan of Elvis, but I really loved that song. And I'm not a fan of any of the other versions of that song either. But I just thought what they did with it was an incredible piece of pop, and it definitely deserved to be a Christmas #1 single.
It is so good. This song is awesome.
Yeah, we haven't talked about this song for a long time, but we did way back in episode 4. It was the extra credit question for our Actually discussion.
Oh, really?
Yes, because it was out right after, Actually had been released, but it wasn't a part of anything. It was for that special, and then based on public demand, they decided they needed to put it not only out as a single, and then became Christmas #1, and then they said, we need to put it on an album as well. Of course, putting it on this album meant they had to do an extended remix of it.
That's right. And hey, Andrew, did you in the UK have like a reissue of Actually that was packaged with the 12-inch for Always on My Mind?
Well, this is where you had it better than us, because I ended up buying the American import of Actually, because it had the single with it, didn't it? It had a different, like a double cover with the single cover on the back of it and the original cover on the front of it. So I bought the US version just for that special edition. But I had the ordinary version as well. But I don't know why, because I had the 12-inch single. There was nothing on the album that was different. I was seduced by the cover. No surprise there.
And you were a bit of a completist, weren't you?
I was at that time, yeah. But that single, there was so many different versions of it at the time as well, including the very original version of it that was on the special that you mentioned briefly before.
How crazy is that there was a Pet Shop Boys record that we got released here in America and you had to get from us?
Yeah, probably
that
one
would
of the
never happen again.
No, one of the very, very rare times that you got an American import of some British band, because we had something you didn't.
Yeah, I think at the time, artists often released different versions around the world. Pet Shop Boys particularly, they had things released specifically in Italy, like Paninaro, that wasn't a single here, or in other countries. But other artists, generally, I'd buy a lot of Japanese releases as well, because they had a lot of exclusive mixes or certain exclusive artwork for singles, and often more interesting and intricate as well. So I was always very seduced by them as well. My pocket money used to go on all that stuff.
Yeah, I can believe that. In other countries besides the United States, they did do a better job with marketing and releasing things like that. We didn't always get the greater versions of things like that.
What was interesting about US releases was that your CDs used to come in those long boxes as well, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they did.
And I think it was only the USA that packaged things in that way, because I remember it was only when things that I got as imports from the USA that had that. None of the other countries ever did.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I don't know why they did it in the first place.
Yeah, it's
It was
such a waste.
strange. Yeah.
Although I do have at work, hanging up at my desk, I still have like 6 of the long boxes from various Queen albums that I saved from back in
Yeah, you cut them up
those
and put
early
them
days.
on your wall.
They're all faded.
Yeah.
I sometimes draw over them with highlighters just to make different areas of color look really bright, like the banana on Innuendo. I keep coloring that with my yellow highlighter.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think you're adding to its value there.
Well, considering you cut up the box to put the front panel on, I don't think it was much value in the first place. So
it's such a weird idea, though. Let's tear down this forest of trees to make these long cardboard boxes. Everyone's going to throw away immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Yeah. Glad we're over that era.
So out of 21 countries that I can find, this was a top 20 hit in 20 of them.
Wow.
It was top 10 in 19 of those 21s. And it was number 1 in 9 of them, including the UK. The song hit number 4 in the US, and it was a number 8 dance hit.
Well, that's not too bad.
I'm proud of how well we embraced this song.
Okay. Yay.
I'm often disappointed in my compatriots here in the United States of America, but we did a pretty good showing with this one.
Yeah, it's probably because it was an Elvis song.
Oh.
Then again, because how many people knew it as an Elvis song? I never did.
Yeah,
I did know it as a Willie Nelson song.
That's right, because Willie Nelson here in America had a version of this just a few years earlier, maybe 5 or 6 years earlier.
Yeah.
It was the early 80s, and his version was nominated for a Grammy Award.
Right.
And I'm not sure if it won or not. But I do have a sample of that. I know Andrew said that he doesn't like any other versions, and this one is not going to win you over. But
Well,
do you care if I play a little sample of Willie Nelson to give people a taste of another version?
Yeah, go on.
All right. Maybe you'll surprise yourself and you'll love it more than the Pet Shop Boys. Here is Willie Nelson singing this exact same song.
If I made you feel second best, girl, I'm sorry I was blind. You were always on my mind. Maybe I didn't hold you all those lonely, lonely times.
Wow, you still awake over there, Andrew?
He always sounds like he's drunk.
I think he's just stoned. I don't think he drinks, but he's always smoking pot. So, friends, what you have right here that you're listening to on your cell phone or whatever, it's a collector's edition. That is the only time that
We'll ever
Willie
play.
Nelson will ever be mentioned on our podcast.
I believe that for sure.
So I hope you enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
So what was the deal, Andrew? Why did the Pet Shop Boys record this song?
Maybe they just know a good song when they hear it, and much like Go West, it's not a brilliant song, but it had the potential to be something very, very special. And I think that that's what they do. They can take something that's quite ordinary and make it into something extraordinary.
They do indeed. Do you have any idea when they were asked to perform on that special, were they assigned this song, or did they get to pick, like out of all the Elvis songs, what they wanted to do?
I think the artists chose their own songs, and I remember that being on as well. I remember seeing that just out of the blue, I think it was. And at the time, I used to fund my record collecting addiction through babysitting when I was an art student. I used to mind some kids who lived over the road from my mum and dad's house.
Wow.
And I remember we were just sitting there watching the TV one night, and I was like, oh, there's a pop special on about Elvis. So we all sat and watched it. Me and the two kids were dancing around the room to the Pet Shop Boys.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, that's great. I'd love to see that. I think I have some information for you on the song that was chosen and why it was chosen. Well, this was one of the few songs Chris would tolerate doing.
Out of all the
Yeah,
Elvis
out of
songs?
all the possible Elvis songs, because he wasn't an Elvis fan. I don't think Neil was as much of an Elvis fan either. And they could only agree on a couple songs. The first one that they actually were looking to do was a song called Baby Let's Play House. And they both thought it would be great. They thought it would be great to do a house music version of that. So I guess that they didn't have time or something didn't work out, so they weren't able to do that song. So they did Always in My Mind instead. But as we know from the title of this version, Always on My Mind in My House, and this is a house music version of Always on My Mind, I also think maybe they were kind of referring to Baby Let's Play House and the fact that they had wanted to do that song.
I see. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, very probably, isn't it? Yeah.
And I don't know that song. I don't have any idea what it sounds like.
Yeah, I never heard that one. Oh, before we go on, I know we talked about the chart performance of the song. I had two more notes there that I just wanted to bring up. In 2004, the Daily Telegraph ranked this as the #2 cover version of all time, saying it was second only to Jimi Hendrix's version of Dylan's All Along the Watchtower.
Oh.
But then 10 years later, the BBC polled the public, and they voted this the all-time best cover song ever.
Wow.
So with a little more
Hooray.
distance, 10 years there, people started to pick up on how incredible this version was.
Wow.
It's still quite controversial, isn't it, as well? Because electronic music is only really just now starting to be seen as a medium that a credible musical medium. I think we talked back in the Erasure episode about how electronic music can often be judged quite harshly because it's not real music, it's not rock. And I remember at the time that people were quite angry about this. It was like they've done this to a classic piece of music, and
Really?
they've been Christmas #1 as well. That sort of, it's sacrilege to have a song like this #1 at Christmas, particularly keeping the Fairy Tale of New York off #1. The Pogues and Kirsty MacColl.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's not
'cause
like it's like the Jingle Bell dogs barking or something like that. I mean, it's still music.
Yeah, but I think that's partly what the issue was. It was like, it's not a Christmas song, it's Christmas #1, a bit like Don't You Want Me by the Human League. That was another non-Christmas Christmas song.
Oh, really? That was the #1 at Christmas time?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know that. That's a great song.
Yeah.
That should have been #1 for the whole year.
We were talking before about Wayne Struder's site, and he mentions the fact that Shane Gowan allegedly wasn't happy about it, and described it as 2 queens and a drum machine.
Oh, are you serious?
Oh,
Oh,
I don't think he got over it being #1 instead of him.
oh my gosh.
wow. That's a shame.
Wow.
As much as I did love it at the time, and it is classic Pet Shop Boys, I think now when they play it live, I do think, I think I might have had enough of it now.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I do think so. They did do it on the Super Tour, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, they'll do Being Boring instead or something. Something a bit less predictable. But I mean, it is such a crowd pleaser, isn't it?
I know.
Oh, yeah.
My first line in my notes here on what does Brian think, I have very few pop songs can bring a smile to my face the way the 7-inch mix of this song can. Even today, when we see them live, it is always one of the highlights of the concert for me. I get so excited. I would never want them to exclude this one from the set list.
I remember back in the day as well, it was when we used to do a mixtape, like every mixtape I'd do for friends, and this was always on it. I think I called a few of them always on my mixtapes. It was
That's fantastic.
Various different versions of it or mixed into other songs. It's a very easy song to mix in as well.
Did you use the single version or did you use this version from Introspective?
I think I used all of them and the limited edition one, the Phil Harding mix as well. I think that one. And I think there were several versions of it. So I think I used to cut them up and that's how I spent my time.
Okay. So this version, I think, was produced by several different people. The album liner notes are a little confusing to me because they have the credit producer and they list under producer as Jillian Middleton and Pet Shop Boys. And then there's a second credit called producer and in parentheses produced with thanks to, and I think that lists David Jacob, Phil Harding, and Ian Carroll.
Correct. I'm looking at it right now.
Yes,
So,
that's because at the time it was standard activity that you'd release a 7-inch single, a 12-inch single, and a cassette, and maybe a CD single. They were starting to come in, but there was always a limited edition 12-inch single as well, and there was a remix version of Always on My Mind, just called the Always on My Mind remix, and that was produced by Phil Harding and Ian Kerno, and it's very, very Stock Aitken and Waterman, and that's kind of what's at the heart of this version on Introspective. It is very, very similar. It hasn't got the rap bit on it, but that sequence in it is in that version. And in fact, maybe at the end of the show we should play out with that version.
sounds like a great idea.
I remember being really surprised at a few episodes ago, I forget when or why, we were talking about Phil Harding, and when you just said it sounded Stock Aitken Waterman, I mean, he was like their official house remixer for when he started out, right?
Oh yeah, he's part of the production team, and Kerno as well. It wasn't just the three of them. There was a big team of people there with kind of production and engineering and arranging and stuff, and they were very much part of the Hit Factory, as they called themselves.
Yeah. See, I never knew that. I remember the first time I saw his name was on a Depeche Mode single, so I thought he kind of had like the cool cred to his name, like Mute Records. I thought he was like a Mute Records guy, and then when I found out, just in the past 2 years that he was working with SAW, I was like, oh my God, have I been tricked? Hey, this song that we're talking about, the version on this record, this is sort of an example of what we mentioned last time. Like, I think it was called the breakdown.
Yes,
Part of a house song has
absolutely.
the breakdown.
Yes, very much so. This definitely has a breakdown on it, and, they kind of deconstruct the song, and then they bring it back together again. Neil says in the liner notes, it was an interesting musical exercise trying to work how to get back to the original tune, all flags flying. I think we used a lot of bluster. And I would say he's right.
Yeah, there were fireworks in there as well, weren't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's pretty blustering.
Did you read about where the fireworks came from?
Yeah, they were at a party, and
That's right, yeah.
I'm trying to think whose party it was, but somebody.
It was JJ Jexalik, or Jexalik, I can't pronounce it,
Okay.
who's a member of Art of Noise.
That's right.
And also produced the first version of Opportunities, Let's Make Lots of Money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And-
so he had a history with the band, and then didn't they just ask him to record the fireworks at the party, and they'd put it on the song somewhere?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, this is a great time to talk about a review kind of from The Guardian. I think I mentioned this in the previous episode. A guy named Tom Ewing picked this as his favorite album, and this ends up being his favorite song on the album, and here's what he says about it. Best of all is the longer Always on My Mind, where the band gradually skeletonized the song, lose touch with it entirely, and then, after 7 minutes, drop in the riff and flood the track with color. It was my introduction to the breakdown, dance music's greatest gift to the world, and it set my music taste back on track. That's still my favorite moment in all pop and the emotional crux of a rich, hopeful record.
That is, everything he says there is so true. That breakdown, when he rebuilds it and we get what is essentially the original song back, it's such a release of like tension, because for 5.5 minutes you're like, when is this going to sound like the version that I love?
Right.
There, when he says they actually lose track of the song, one of the reasons that you would say that, one of the reasons they lose track of the song is because they actually go into another song right in the middle of this one, and it fits pretty well, but they go into a song called In My House.
Okay.
And the way they transition into In My House, I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, what did they just say? Because this is how they transition from Always on My Mind to the new song. Listen to what they do.
You are always on my mind. You are always in my house.
I still remember my friend Jim in high school thought that was the best thing he ever heard. He would just walk around singing that part like all the time and like make himself laugh.
Wow.
I just thought it was crazy.
Not sure that was the effect that Neil and Chris were going for, but hey, enjoyment is enjoyment, correct?
Yep. So that is the segue. You were always in my house, and then we get into the song called In My House, and that sounds a little bit like this.
I worked so hard, I thought you knew. My love, I did it all for you. I never really had the time. I guess you couldn't read my mind. You are always.
So that's a little sample of that. It's kind of a not broken down like a broken down car, but deconstructed is what I meant. A deconstructed kind of house track. And it's brilliant once again to put the word house in the name of your song when it's a house record. All week long, Andrew, I've been going like, house music.
Yes, he has. I will attest to that. He has been doing that a lot.
I've not done your compilation CD yet.
Oh, man.
That's okay.
No.
Yeah, I'm glad you played that section, which makes sense. I like the way that Neil's voice is manipulated, and we have to remember
Me too.
This is in the days before auto-tune, so that took a lot more work than it would now to get those different tones. But it's a very cool effect.
I think how he did it was they altered the speed, didn't they, as they were recording it? So then when they played it back, the proper speed, his voice sounded like it was slow and fast.
Oh, okay. I was wondering how they would do that.
I guess that's like the old-fashioned way to do it. Yeah, but it's good. It's very effective.
A quote that Neil said that I read, I think, in the CD booklet that made me smile was that he says house was supposed to be acid house. This song In My House was supposed to be acid house, which Neil says was a term used at the time, but that the music didn't really exist yet.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was weird because you mentioned a particular acid house song last week on the first part of the podcast, Andrew. So do you know what he really means when he says they were using the term before there was music?
I think it was a sort of emerging genre, really, that was acid house is a very specific strand of house music that had a kind of very bubbly, squelchy bass line sound to it that this song doesn't have. And it was probably just starting to come to prominence, but there weren't really many songs around at that time. Maybe that's
okay.
What he means.
Interesting.
Do we like this new song In My House? Do we like the presence of that song right in the middle of this other one?
I do. I love it. I liked it at the time. And to be honest, I haven't really listened to that version very much recently, but I was cooking dinner last night and I had it on very loud while I was cooking. I've got great speakers in the kitchen and I was dancing around again. And, and my partner came out and said, "That's a horrible version."
Oh, wow. Oh, man.
So it's obviously not the crowd pleaser.
Yeah. I'll say, until I understood what they were doing here, I had a real problem with it. I understand now that they are deliberately deconstructing it and bringing it back together. But, it's hard for me to listen to this every single note of the song. When I'm not totally focused on every note of the song, I enjoy it more. But otherwise, to me, that empty space and the repetitive parts become too overwhelming, long and drawn out, and I start kind of getting annoyed by it. I like the single version much better.
They do very different things, though, don't they? I mean, I think the single version, the one that was number one and everyone was aware of, was obviously what everyone liked. But this was for the more hardcore fan, I think, who had a more experimental ear, perhaps.
Yeah, very true.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I understand and appreciate what they're doing here, like why they're doing it, what they're trying to achieve, and it's just not always what I want to hear.
I remember this being played in clubs because I was very much out on the scene at the time of acid house, and I remember that version used to get played, whereas the single wouldn't have because it was just too mainstream.
Oh yeah,
This one did.
Sure, I get that. That makes sense. Were you wearing one of those great hats?
I did have one of those little hats, like a little bucket hat, like Chris Lowe wore. Yeah. And in fact, funnily enough, there's a Pet Shop Boys link. One night I was dancing in a club in Liverpool, and Chris Lowe was on the dance floor next to me.
Oh my gosh! Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because he lived in Liverpool for a long time.
Did he really?
Yeah, he was actually there on the. We weren't dancing to Pet Shop Boys songs, but yeah, that was during this sort of acid house period. Yeah.
Wow.
So, didn't say anything to him though.
Just kept dancing.
I can imagine if he was dancing and having fun, if they put a Pet Shop Boys song on for the next dance, he would just kind of get a scowl on his face and be like, "My night is ruined."
He'd leave.
And stormed off.
Do you know what I think it was we were dancing to?
What?
No.
Bananarama.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Wow.
Stock Aitken and Waterman era Bananarama.
oh my
man.
goodness. And they're back on the concert scene.
Yeah.
They are, yeah.
Do you know anyone who's gone to see them?
I do, yeah, and said it was an amazing show. Yeah, I mean, they're not the strongest singers in the world, are they? But
No.
I think they put on a great pop performance.
All
I think there's lots of nostalgia in it, and great videos and things. I can imagine there's gangs of people going out to them, just to relive their youth.
There's like an old Queen BBC radio interview. It was like an hour-long interview for when the album The Miracle was coming out, and it was on Bank Holiday. And at some point in the interview, I can't remember who brings it up or what, the interviewer asked them, what are songs that are out now that you guys like? And I remember John Deacon, the bass player, mentions that he likes Elvis Costello's song Allison. And they start talking about Bananarama for some reason, and the interviewer says, "What is it about Bananarama you like so much? Is it their strong vocal harmonies?" And everyone just started cracking up.
Well, they had a massive transformation as a band, didn't they, really? Because they did start out as kind of they're a bit post-punk.
Yeah.
And then they suddenly had hits, and they tried to mould them into a girl band, which they didn't want, but reluctantly went along with. And then Stock Aitken and Waterman got involved and had a very tricky time with them. Yeah, and then suddenly they were massive, weren't they? That era, they were just giant.
Yep. Venus, More Than Physical, I Heard a Rumor.
Yeah. So were you fans?
I have the vinyl of the album with Venus. I love the video of that. I used to watch the video for Venus a lot. And even to this day, like if Venus is on the radio, I don't always leave it on. But if Cruel Summer is on the radio, and I know that's not a Stock Aitken and Waterman song, I actually have that song programmed in my radio in the car. If it comes on any station, it will alert me that it's on, and I'll skip to it. But I also really liked I Heard a Rumor. We have that for our jukebox on a 45.
And I think I have the piano sheet music for that.
Oh, really?
I think I wanted to try to learn to play that on piano.
Oddly enough, like after that song, I have no knowledge at all of their career after I Heard a Rumor.
Yeah, that'd be the same for me.
I never heard another single from them, I don't think, and I never searched them down. Didn't one of the group members leave to form like Shakespeare's Sister?
That's right, yeah. Siobhan left, and she married Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics, and then did the Shakespeare Sister project, yeah.
Is Karen married to Andrew Ridgeley?
She is, isn't she? Yeah. And she still is, too.
Oh, is she? That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I read a long time ago about, see, this is a bad thing because I know I read this, but it seriously was 20 years ago, so I can't give you a source. But in the interview, Neil seemed sort of hurt that people thought his interpretation of this song, his vocals were very cold and not heartfelt. And he said something like, I thought I was putting a lot of emotion into it. And I know I read that. And then when I was researching the song here, I found an interview much more recently. It was from 2010 with Mike Atkinson of the Nottingham Evening Post. And Neil said that the song is sung from a point of view of a selfish and self-obsessed man who is possibly incapable of love and who is now drinking whiskey and feeling sorry for himself. It is a completely tactless song. I swear to you that I read an interview where Neil said, I thought I was putting a lot of heartfelt emotion into this, and people were telling me they love it because there's no emotion to it. So I have to think that over the years, he just sort of changed his story about his interpretation of the song.
You convinced himself that he really wasn't being emotional?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe I didn't treat you quite as good as I should. Maybe I didn't love you quite as often as I could. Little things I should have said and done, I never
All right. Well, one thing we should always talk about when we have Andrew on the show is the design work. So let's talk about the design work for this sleeve.
In the last episode, we talked about the Pet Shop Boys and their white space, didn't we? And how the first two albums were very white, and then Introspective was very colourful. Well, the single for this was very much part of their white period. In fact, it's pretty much their most minimal they've ever been, with the tiniest type and the tiniest photograph. So it's all white and tiny little photograph in the top left-hand corner that's exactly the same side as the barcode, which is on the other side of it. I like the fact that the image was dictated by the size of the barcode, and then just the tiny type in the other corner that just says "Always on my mind, Pet Shop Boys," and there's nothing else. It's a great exercise in minimalism, but even Mark Farrow isn't particularly keen on the design of it now. He says that he just felt like he was doing Please again.
I can see that. I just brought it up. I wasn't sure what it looked like.
Oh, yeah.
The single there had a different cover, which was the one that was on the... Or was it released as a single in the US?
It was, but the copy that I have doesn't have a picture sleeve.
I always thought the American cover had that picture that was on the limited edition Actually version, with them sitting on the chairs.
Right.
With the very, very heavy makeup. As minimal as the outer cover is, it's got inner sleeve images again, like we spoke again last week with Left to My Own Devices, where they were very into multiple sleeves. So you had this white outer cover, and then you had this inside cover that had photographs of them from their film It Couldn't Happen Here, with stills from that.
Oh, right.
With Chris with his woolly hat, and Neil looking like he's on his way to the opera.
Yes, right.
Yes. And then that's what they ended up, that movie, of course, is what forms the basis for the video for this song.
Yes, yeah.
And it's just kind of, to me, like a hodgepodge of scenes from that movie, with a framing sequence of Neil and Chris driving in a car and picking up an elderly male passenger who sits in the back and says cryptic things.
Have you seen the film?
No, I have not ever seen it. I look every now and again to see if it's on DVD or if I can get it somehow, but it never is.
I understand it's a kind of very unusual and not for everyone.
I'd say you should see it just because it's Pet Shop Boys and it's got great music and it looks lovely visually. The cinematography is great in it, but there isn't much storyline to it. It's quite weak in terms of narrative. But I remember going to see it at the cinema when it came out, which seems bizarre, doesn't it? Pet Shop Boys make a film that's actually on at the cinema. I remember going to see it and coming out sort of thinking, well, what was that all about?
Yeah, even watching the video, I come away with that feeling. And I don't know if it's supposed to be surrealism or they're just so clever that I don't understand or what's happening there.
I think there are aspects of it that are referencing various points in the lives of Tennant and Lowe that connect with parts of their personal stories, and those points are just used to join a lot of other interesting visuals together, really.
Okay, well, that's helpful.
That older man who gets into the back of the car there, that's an actor named Joss Ackland.
That's right. Yes, that's correct.
And
very famous actor, yeah.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of movies and TV shows over the years. Two things that I just wrote down because I had seen them. He was in The Hunt for Red October, and he was in a movie called The Sicilian, which was based on a Mario Puzo book, where, of course, they cast French actor Christopher Lambert to play the Sicilian, because that makes sense.
Sure.
But years later, Mr. Ackland said that just because he enjoyed working so much, he had been in some awful films over the years, and he mentioned that he regretted appearing in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey and the Pet Shop Boys movie, saying, "I can't tell you how embarrassing that was."
Oh my gosh.
The actress in it, Barbara Windsor, she's more famous, I suppose, for the Carry On films of the 60s and 70s here in the UK, which are very camp comedy films. And Barbara Windsor's in It Couldn't Happen Here, and she later went on to be in a soap opera that we have here called EastEnders, which has Patsy Kensit in it from Eighth Wonder.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Oh, wow. So many connections.
Yep.
So interesting.
So do we like this video?
No. I don't. I'm quite sure of that.
I like it because it's like a summary of the film. It's like, if you're not going to watch the hour-and-a-half film, just watch the 4-minute video and you kind of get a flavour of what it's about, really.
Oh, no.
I like the video. I think Neil looks cool dressed up in his fancy clothes. And some of the things that Joss says I find clever and funny. Not everything. And he has the look of a madman on his face.
I think it might be because we find out after the fact, after they drop him off, where he's like, I have to go, I have to get out of here.
Yeah.
He put on glasses and has a cane, and it looks like he's blind.
Yes.
So in the car, he's got his glasses off, but he's kind of not ever focusing on anything, and you don't really know why.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
And then when he gets out, oh wait, he's blind. Okay, I think I'd have to be in the right mood to watch this entire movie. I don't think I could just go into it, without having the right mindset.
I think you just have to enjoy some cider or...
Yeah, maybe be a little bit inebriated. Yeah. Okay.
Apparently it is coming on DVD or Blu-ray at some point. It's been promised for a long, long time. I've still got my VHS of it. But it is on YouTube, actually, or it was last time I looked. The whole thing is on YouTube. So you could have a nice Saturday night in with the popcorn.
Yeah, we could.
Okay. All right, we'll put that on our schedule.
All these years I've wanted to see it. I never even thought that the whole movie would be on YouTube.
Oh, everything's out there.
I guess so. They'll probably shut it down if they do release it on DVD.
Yeah.
All right. So, like I said before, one of my favorite Pet Shop Boys songs right there, always on my mind. It's a delight to listen to, and it was fun to talk about it. And that brings us up to the very last song on the album, Song 6. And this is another cover version, although I didn't know that when I first got the album. And this is a song called It's All Right. So It's All Right was the final single taken from the album Introspective, and here's one of the most intelligent statements I'm ever going to make. It charted really well in the places where it charted well. It was number 12 in Italy and Switzerland, number 5 in the UK, number 3 in Germany, and number 2 in Ireland. The other countries where it charted were all much higher than I'm used to seeing for the Pet Shop Boys. I was kind of shocked, especially with the strength of the prior singles off this record. In Japan, it was number 82.
Wow.
Which I thought was crazy. And there were a lot of numbers in that 80s, 60s kind of area. I'm used to that now here in America, but I was surprised to see that around Europe.
Yeah.
So it seemed like either people didn't like this song or the momentum had kind of worn off from the record by the time they got to the third single.
Well, what I don't understand, and maybe Andrew has some insight on this or not, this song was released on June 26, 1989. The second single had been released back in November of 1988. So why was there such a large gap between the two singles? I could not figure that out. I went back looking through their history to figure out what would have made that happen. And I mean, they could have been working on other projects, and I believe they were at the time, but that shouldn't have affected the timing of a single release.
I think I know.
Oh, really?
Yes, I think I know. Anyway, the tour, the MCMLXXXIX tour.
Oh, okay.
And the preparation for that, because that was around that time, wasn't it? And it was their first tour, so there will have been a lot of work that went into that, pre-production stuff and videos that were made, choreography, all of the music needed to be created for it, and the costumes and the work with Derek Jarman. So it was I spoke about it in the last episode, but that was a huge undertaking for them, and that's possibly what got in the way of the single.
Okay, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, that might be the answer then. But I'm still a little surprised. They were the ones working behind the scenes. What did that have to do with the record company putting out a record?
Well, the Pet Shop Boys probably would not have been available to promote it in any way if they were busy with other stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the tour dates were, this is very nerdy, isn't it? The tour dates were the 29th of June to the 21st of July. So the tour started, that single came out the week of that tour beginning.
Oh, that's perfectly timed then.
Okay.
Yes.
Then the answer is clear. That must be it. They were preparing for their first ever tour.
We're like detectives here, pieces of a puzzle.
We are detectives.
So this song, like I said, it was a cover. This is a tune that was originally written and performed by Sterling Void featuring Paris Brightledge. Sterling Void was a house musician from Chicago.
Surprise, surprise, Chicago.
Yeah, who the Pet Shop Boys discovered on a compilation CD called Acid Tracks.
Yeah.
And they were quite smitten with it and decided to do their own version of it. Although they changed the title of the song, didn't they?
Yeah.
They did, yeah.
They did. And that's another one I have a problem with.
So you're getting him on his grammar again?
Well, yeah, I think so. But this one I might be a little more lenient just because,
Well, what did they change? Explain.
well,
what they did.
in the original U.S. version of the song, the title is It's All Right, with all right being 2 words. And in this version, it's all right is 1 word with 1 L, A-L-R-I-G-H-T.
Right.
And here in America, all right, like written like that, is technically incorrect. However, it seems like that is a little more acceptable in British English, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it is. Because I never even realised that that was an issue until I read that when I was doing my revision for this episode, and I read about that, and I thought, oh, I didn't realise that it should be 3 words. So yeah, I think maybe it's just an English versus American English thing.
I don't think I ever spell it as 2 words. I think I always do the 1 L word.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
And no one's ever yelled at me about it.
Well,
The grammar police.
all right. All right.
But back in the late 80s, this was crucially important here in the United States.
Really?
And as a result, we refused to embrace this single.
Yeah, that was it. That was the reason.
Something that I thought was kind of interesting about this song was that Pet Shop Boys asked Trevor Horn to work on it. Mm-hmm. He did, and after they heard what he did with the song, they decided to get involved with it themselves.
Oh, is that what happened?
That's what I read. And their version, which is this album version, they say is very much based on the original Sterling Void record. And I think, in retrospect, they probably would have rather that they didn't meddle and let Trevor stay in control. Because Neil said that he finds this to be the weakest song on the album, not really liking its raw sound. So he has no one to blame but himself and Chris.
Yeah. There's several versions of this song, and I think Neil has said that this is the weakest version. The single version is obviously quite different. It's certainly not as long, and it has some different instrumentation.
It's not as polished either, is it? I think you can tell when you hear the single version or the 10-inch version or any of those, there were a few different versions, that they're more polished. The album version feels a little bit raw and probably closer to the original Sterling Void version.
Yeah, you definitely can hear that.
Yeah.
That 10-inch version that you mentioned?
Yes.
That has the pretentious extra verse that Neil wrote, I guess. Are you familiar with that pretentiousness?
That's my favourite version of it, but maybe that's because I'm pretentious.
Oh, maybe. Why don't we just play that pretentious section so people know what we're talking about here? Because it was something that I had never heard until the Further Listening CDs came out. Here in America, I don't think we ever got 10-inch singles of anything, unless it would be an import single. And I think I only own 1 10-inch single. Oh, no, I just got another one. For years, I've had a Communards 10-inch single, I think for You Are My World.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But just for Record Store Day last year, I got a Roger Taylor from Queen, a 10-inch single that he released.
Okay.
But here is the pretentious part of the 10-inch mix.
There's a boy standing by a river. There's a girl lying with her lover. There's a statesman standing at a crossroads. There's a soldier polishing his gun.
Oh, I love the harp in that.
It's just Trevor Horn again, isn't it? Showing off.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, speaking of Trevor Horn, did you see the stuff that came out like at the end of last week, Thursday or Friday, about Trevor Horn reinterprets the 80s?
Yeah, I was going to message you about that, and then I thought it was the day I saw it the day after I'd originally messaged you about that other orchestral thing, and it was like a bit of an orchestral overkill, so I didn't bother.
So that lyric we just played, Neil now declares that to be fantastically pretentious and not very good. He says it's not one of my better vocal performances either. Mm-hmm. So he seems pretty unhappy with that. I thought it was neat just because I never heard it before the reissue came out.
It follows on quite nicely from his Roundhead General bit, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Well, it sure does. Yeah, it does.
Yep.
By the way, since you mentioned this, I realized that one of the other things I used to think that he was saying, I think I said ranking general, but I honestly also thought he was saying Randy General.
Oh.
Which is even worse. It was a Randy General. Like, oh my, were you?
Sir, yes, sir. And the third version of this song, which was the single version that Trevor did with a programmer named George DeAngelis, because the Pet Shop Boys were too busy. They had moved on to working with Liza Minnelli.
Oh, right.
That's, I think, my favorite version of this song. Trevor includes like brand new synth lines that aren't in any version of the song, and he replaces some of the piano from the album with those synth lines. And then here's the thing that made me make that joke earlier about Chris being mad when the Pet Shop Boys came on. He also added a vocal of Chris saying, "It's going to be all right." And Chris says that completely spoils the record. He does not like that version because he spoiled it by putting Chris's vocals in.
Oh, jeez. I disagree.
I know. I think Pet Shop Boys fans love anytime you can hear Chris do anything
I agree.
because it's so rare.
Yeah, like his vocals, you mean? Yeah. It's a nice surprise and a good treat.
I always hope every time we see him in concert, I hope that like, hey, maybe they'll do Pioneero in this
Yeah.
concert and we'll see Chris come out and
Recite his list.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I remember when they did the one-off concert at the Hacienda in Manchester, and they did Pioneero at that, and they did a version that they've never ever done since, where Chris had his Apple Macintosh on the stage with him, and in the early days there was a voice, like a computer voice that the Mac had, and that did the vocals on the stage for that particular version. It was a brilliant,
Oh, really?
He's
brilliant version.
Yeah. He still wouldn't do him himself live.
No.
Yeah, but it's certainly very appropriate to have a computer doing it.
Oh, yeah.
With every album, his voice generally appears somewhere, doesn't it? Or on a B-side track from that particular period. When I was writing the Classic Pop article for the special, I deliberately mentioned that because people always think of Neil as the singer and Chris as the musician, and it's not that black and white, is it? So that was why in that article I mentioned the fact you could release a whole album of songs with just Chris, or that Chris has been involved with vocally. There's been plenty of them.
Yeah, and that's something, what you just said, the expectations that Neil is the singer and Chris is the writer. Even to this day, I'm still kind of surprised when, like in the CD booklets for the further listing, when Neil starts a story saying, like, this is a song that I had floating around that I used to play on piano and I brought it in. Even though I love him and I have every album and listen to him all the time, I'm guilty of I usually think Neil has some input, but probably most things start with Chris. So it just kind of stands out for me when I find out that's not the case.
This is the longest song in their canon. 9 minutes, 24 seconds.
That is true. Yeah, it still is the longest.
And there's a lot of breakdowns in this song. I only had 2 listed, but then as I listened to, many times, there are a lot of times where this song kind of rises and falls. I can see this on a graph. There's a lot of builds up and then it gets breaking down and then it comes back up again several times throughout that almost 9.5 minutes.
That's classic dance floor stuff, though, isn't it? Where you kind of build the crowd up and then you let them kind of come down for a bit and then back up again. It's sort of classic thing to do with dance music.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You can, and this is the height of that period, and they were so into that music at this time. And so, they were just having, I think, a lot of fun with this one. But Chris, he was doing all kinds of neat things. But in this particular version, I do think they kind of lost perspective a couple times and let the song get away from them.
I'd agree with you on that. Always on my mind. It's over 9 minutes. And I don't realize that when I listen to it. It doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah, is it really that long?
Yeah, I think it's 9 minutes and 5 seconds.
Wow.
Let me look.
Yeah, I would have never thought it was.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it is 9:05.
Never would have thought it was that close to as long as this one, because this one feels much longer to me.
Because Always on My Mind evolves so much. This one, you get a lot of house piano with little bits thrown behind it that are different. And like you said, it breaks down and rebuilds. But it doesn't do enough to hold our interest, I don't think, to justify the really long length.
Yeah, I don't know that it ever fully rebuilds like Always on My Mind does. And we're kind of left hanging a little bit more than we are in the other song.
And I do like the album version. I think it's too long, but I do like it. I like the single version better, that third single version. I really like the bass on the album. I think the bass is really good.
Okay.
And something that I am curious about, they have that guitar in here that kind of sounds like it. I know it's not, but it sounds like it could be like a Johnny Marr style guitar playing. Mm-hmm. I don't like how in the very beginning we get the harmonies from the background singers building up to when the drums are going to come in. Yeah. And before the drums start, you get just like a second of that guitar.
Like one strum.
Yeah. And then it just drops out completely and we get the drums.
Yeah.
And then the guitar comes in like minutes down the road.
Yeah.
It sounds so awkward to me. I think if you went from the background vocals just to the beat, I wouldn't give it a single thought. But the fact that you get one guitar strum that takes 1.2 seconds or whatever... It doesn't make sense to me why they did that.
I think that's what I meant earlier when I used the word raw. It's got that kind of slightly rough production sound to it.
Okay.
And I'm sure that's probably what they were after, because a lot of that early house music did have that, it was pre-MIDI stuff. So it was people trying to do, link up keyboards and sequences and things, and often having to play things manually to sound like it was programmed, but it wasn't. So it was very kind of robotic, but slightly like a drunk robot, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
So it wasn't quite as precise as it should be. It's just a bit rough around the edges.
I'm glad you said that, because when you said the song was raw, I wasn't quite sure what that meant. I thought maybe that just meant kind of meandering.
I think,
But that makes sense to me, what you just said.
They leave more pieces in here that are left unfinished, or things that you wouldn't normally let go on so long. You kind of edit them, but they kind of just left it go.
Which is what house DJs were doing in the clubs. You know, they were mixing things in and out in real time for an audience. You know, and so you would get weird cut up bits of things coming in. It was almost like, you know, bits of scratching here and there, and dropping things in and out, and experimenting. And I think that this sounds quite experimental, really.
Oh, it does.
Particularly compared to what Trevor Horn did with it. He smoothed all the rough edges off and made it into something, well, very Trevor Horn.
Yeah, a
true.
little more accessible for people like me. You know, I can understand that on the dance floor as a DJ is kind of piecing together the song and, you know, changing things. And then you can actually see how that's reacting to the crowd. And, you know, are people really excited? Are they starting to leave? Okay, well, then we need to do this or that. You know, they don't have that kind of perspective in the studio. They just kind of leave it as it is. And we'll see what the listener ends up thinking. We won't really ever know.
Having said that about this song, I think that overall the album is sequenced really well. I think that they did a fantastic job putting the tracks in the order that they did. I'm saying a few bad things about this song here as we're talking about it, but like I said, I do like it. But Left to My Own Devices is like a barnstorming opening.
Yes.
That was a perfect way to start this album. And then they end the first side with what I consider to be the record's strongest track, Domino Dancing. I know most people probably might disagree, but I think we can all agree that Domino Dancing is a great song, even if it's not your favorite. Then Domino Dancing gets you excited to stand up and flip the record, or maybe you're already standing because you're dancing, so walk over and flip the record. Side 2, songs 1 and 2 are cuts that most everybody is going to know already. So it's like, hey, I'm familiar with these. I love these songs. And then we get to this last song on side 2, and this was the one on side 2. It's a cover. It's the new song. Most people aren't going to know it. I do like the way it ends the album on like a thoughtfully optimistic note.
Just like the message of the song.
Right, the message of the song, which I know that Neil does a little bit of his own rework of the lyrics to kind of work against the optimism of the song. He says, I hope it's going to be all right, when the original lyric is, it's going to be all right. So I know that Neil maybe is not rah-rah and 100% into like, hey, things are going to work out. But even with his additions, I think that lyrically, it does give you a nice optimistic feeling for the future. And I think it's a great album closer, even if we're going to say it goes on for too long and doesn't have the same high quality as some of the other songs.
I would agree, and they could have edited it down just by cutting that very strange ending off with Neil saying, I think it's going to be all right, or whatever it is he says, where it sounds like he's speaking down a phone or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is a really unusual thing to do, but I think it works really nicely. And you know, the album's called Introspective because all the songs are introspective in different ways. And it does feel like, you know, you've had the kind of ups and downs with Domino Dancing potentially being about, you know, HIV and AIDS. And there's been a lot of different stories coming in and out. So I quite like that it ends on that optimistic high, really.
Me too.
Okay. Well, I might disagree a little bit.
How dare you?
I know.
Yeah, really.
What's wrong with me? Well, you know, I really like the single version so much better. It sounds to me much more like a Pet Shop Boys song. This one, I understand they were trying to kind of keep it more to the original, but the original material is so simple, and this version is so close to that. I don't feel like this fits in quite as well with anything they normally do. Honestly, if they had the version with all the orchestration and the opera, that would have been much better bookend for this album, because that's how the album begins, with all this orchestration and opera singing. I think I would have preferred it to be a little bit more like the first song.
Oh, bring everything full circle.
Correct.
I wonder, though, if it's to do with that having a perspective on the album as a complete piece of music. You know, you were talking about it's not an album that you're that familiar with, whereas I think of all of these 6 songs almost as like almost joining together as one piece of music.
Okay.
Oh,
And
really?
so the idea of changing that feels a bit like when people re-release albums and they'll put a different version on there and suddenly it's like, well, that doesn't belong there.
Right.
So even though I agree with you that Trevor Horn's version would bookend it better because you've got him starting the album and you'd have him finishing the album, and it thematically and stylistically it would fit in better, perhaps be more cohesive. It's not enough that it would jar for me just because I'm so used to hearing these 6 songs in this order together as a collection.
I understand that. I can appreciate that.
The Pet Shop Boys obviously weren't happy with the Trevor Horn version, at least initially, because that's why they came in and they did their own version. So if we ended the album with a version of the song that we may all like better, but Neil and Chris weren't completely happy with, all of a sudden, 1/6 of the album is not really the way they want it to be. It's not going to be their musical document anymore. So I would much rather have the version that they felt at the time, this is the way it should sound and this is how it should end.
There was the potential for this song to go in lots of different directions. And if you look at the remixes that came out around that time, again, I don't know what was released in the States, but in the UK, there were lots and lots of different versions of this. There were various Trevor Horn remixes. There was Sterling Void mixes, the Thai remix. People did very different things with it. So some were very kind of raw house versions, and then you've got Trevor's very high production value versions. And it just feels like they were just experimenting, really. It was just sort of, well, let's see what we can do with it. And this version's sort of somewhere in the middle of all of those different remixes that came out.
Yeah, I understand that.
We keep mentioning Sterling Void. I forgot earlier that I have a sample of the Sterling Void version of the song.
Oh, yeah.
We were probably past the time where it best would have been played, but do you mind if I just play it right now so people can hear it?
Yeah, please do.
Here's the original version.
Revolutionists in South Africa taking a stand. People in Eurasia on the brink of oppression. But it's gonna be alright. 'Cause the music plays forever on. Yeah. And it's gonna be alright.
So hearing that, I think you can tell, I think, Sarah, you just said that not too long ago, that Pet Shop Boys really are using that as their template for this version.
Right.
The bass sounds very, very similar to me.
Even some of the drum fills and the backing vocals and stuff, it's very, very similar.
Yeah.
Very true.
I liked his vocals on that. I thought he did a very good job vocally. And I will go so far as to say, as I like those vocals better than Neil's vocals on this version.
What is happening here today?
I'm glad Neil didn't try and copy that style, though. That would have been quite embarrassing.
Well, no, he couldn't do that. He couldn't do that. No, I wouldn't want him to try to sound like that. But I do think that this is not one of his best vocal performances. And I say that having recently re-listened to Please, their first album, and saying, I think every song on that is a stronger vocal performance than this song. I don't know if it was intentional because of what he's saying and how he decided to say, I hope it's going to be all right. And he wanted to have that kind of a tentative sound to it. That's what I get from these vocals, though. Very tentative. Like he's just not certain about what he's singing. Okay, so enough about the music of this song for now. Let's talk more about the visual aspects, with starting first with the single cover.
Okay, and then we'll move into the video.
Right.
Andrew, can you educate us on this single cover, which I don't think I've ever even seen here in the United States?
Really? Because it's one of their most iconic images, I think. The picture of Chris Lowe with the looks like he's having an eye test.
All right,
it was used on the cover of the Literally book, but actually it wasn't used on the cover of the Literally book in America. You had a different cover, but it's a definite iconic, very, very close crop of Chris Lowe's face wearing opticians' eye testing equipment.
I'm going to Google it.
It's a great
yeah,
image.
I've never seen that.
It's a great photograph.
Oh, wow. Oh,
And
that's
then,
funny.
And then Neil Tennant's on the flip side of it with the
Neil has like a crazy amount of eye makeup on.
Yeah, the Guy LaRoche did the makeup for it. It's the same makeup artist who did the Always on My Mind image that we were talking about earlier of them sitting on the
in the
seat.
chairs.
Yeah, with the lots of makeup on.
Yeah, I can see that.
Very, very sort of over the top, very 80s look. I do love it.
Very much.
I quite like the way the typography is sort of running down his cheek as well, like tears. It's almost like, it's going to be all right, I hope.
Oh, no. Wow. Very dramatic.
Again, a great sleeve. The 12-inch had no lettering on it at all. It was just literally Chris Lowe's face. And then they had that wraparound, that belly band thing with just the typography on it. Really nice touch, really design. And then the various different remixes of it, because there were a lot of them in very fluorescent colours, pink and green. And then there was a black 10-inch version. It was hard to keep up with all of these releases. I think I just about managed it at the time.
That's very good.
I had to do a lot of babysitting to pay for this lot.
My Google search here brought up the cover of the Single. Did you have that one?
I didn't buy that, no.
It seems like it only has the Chris photo. It doesn't look like they included the Neil photo with it. Huh.
Yeah, I'm just looking, because here it says there were 7-inch times 2, 10-inch, 12-inch times 2, 12-inch remix, 12-inch promo, cassette, and CD. That was the official collection of remixes. So, yeah.
That covers it pretty well.
What about this photo that is in the re-release, the Further Listening booklet, and I'm seeing it right now on some sort of...
Was it like the Batman style?
Yeah, like black vinyl or black leather.
Yes.
What's the story of those sessions?
Right. Okay. So those images were originally shot for a magazine, and it was around the time of the Batman film. And I could read it directly from my notes here. So its cover featured one of Cindy Palmano's Batman images that had been intended for It's All Right. But the shoot was originally done for the Face magazine in the build-up to Tim Burton's Batman movie. And the pose was to suggest Batman and Robin without being too literal, as according to Chris. But only the black and white version worked. The original colour ones just didn't have the same impact. And the Face magazine didn't want to use a black and white image on its cover because that was all about colour images at that time. So the photographs were used for the Japanese compilation sort of mini album called In Depth, which was used to promote the MCM LXXXXIX tour. So it was very much connected to that tour, that release, because that tour covered Japan as well.
That's amazing, because Tim Burton's Batman movie, 1989 Batman movie, is one of the major impacts on my life. That movie meant more to me than tons and tons of stuff. And on Facebook just last week, there was this thing going around, put 10 pictures of movies that have impacted your life without any explanation. Yeah. My second one that I put up was a frame from the 89 Batman movie. I remember being in line all afternoon, a line wrapped around the building. We were interviewed by the newspaper as we were going in, because we were all wearing crazy amounts of Batman clothing. I was upset. I'm still obsessed with Batman, but I was super obsessed with Batman that summer, because that's what everybody was waiting for, that movie. Man, that's great that it was a little tribute to Batman.
Yeah, well, it came out at the same time as the single. Yeah. Think about it, June of 1989. Very timely.
Awesome. She's got Batman and James Bond in the same episode.
Oh my God.
This is it. This is it. The trifecta.
I know.
Batman, James Bond, and pop music.
Yep. I love it. Well, thanks, Andrew.
You're welcome.
That's wonderful.
But Mark Farrow talks about the sleeve in the book as well. Or is it Mark? I don't know. No, it's actually Neil Tennant. I used this in the Pet Shop Boys special article I wrote, because it's quite a nice thing that he said. Neil Tennant said, I quite often look through our records and think how fantastic they look. You want to make a record something special. It's not just nothing, the sleeve. I personally think it's as important as the music. You're buying an object, so you want it to be beautiful. I also think a sleeve should give you things to wonder about. You can get the It's All Right sleeve and spend hours wondering about Chris's glasses.
That's true.
Yeah.
So this is another Eric Watson video. This is sort of wrapping up his time with the band, right? Isn't the last clip that he does for him, isn't it 91? Do you know, did he go on to do more videos with other bands, or did he focus more on photography?
I don't know. I mean, he died young, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
I don't know how ill he was, or I don't know much about him really, other than that, he was an old friend of Neil's back from Newcastle. But he did the video for Jealousy as well. Just noticed.
Oh, right, right, yeah.
And DJ Culture actually.
So with these videos, I've actually liked each video as we've gotten to it better than the last one.
Oh, wow.
This was my favorite clip of the album.
Okay.
And that's because I love getting a chance to watch pop stars look really uncomfortable around babies. That's why I love A Question of Time by Depeche Mode. Those guys, the guys at Depeche Mode have no clue how to hold a baby. They all look super uncomfortable. Chris does well in this video.
Yeah, he seems to be having a good time holding them and engaging with them.
Yeah. Now, Neil kind of looks like the Depeche Mode guys, but man, Chris knows what he's doing.
As an expert babysitter yourself, Andrew, how do you feel about the babies in this video?
well, when I was looking after children, they weren't babies, thankfully. I think one was about 7 and one was about 10. So they were a lot easier to handle. I'm not very good at picking babies up either, actually.
Okay.
And do you know how many there were in the video? Do you know how many babies they had on set?
12?
110 babies were on set.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's an awful lot of babies.
Because I guess they were shooting all day and you couldn't keep the same, so they'd probably have batches of babies.
Bring the next batch in.
Yeah, because Eric Watson talks about this, actually. I've got a quote from Eric about this video. The idea was that all you'd ever see would be babies, except for the men in leather jackets. Chris and Neil were there for the wide shots, but for the close-ups, It was my assistant in the same clothes holding the babies. There was a necessary precaution. In one of the shots, Neil is singing, and there's a baby at the front with his hands over his ears. Among the babies used with the photographer's son, Eugene, who's seen sitting on Chris's lap.
I read that one of the babies vomited on Neil's leather jacket during the shoot.
That poor baby.
I'm sure that didn't please Neil too much.
So I saw somewhere okay, so they have all these bundles of babies, but on screen they try to make it seem like there's 12 of them, I think.
Oh, okay. That's why you said 12.
Yeah. And I saw somewhere that the babies represented the 12 hopes for humanity's future, and that Neil and Chris have been charged with taking care of these hopes.
Oh, wow. That's quite an undertaking.
Yep.
Because it was Chris's idea, wasn't it, to use babies because they were a sort of symbol of, optimism and hope for the future, for future generations.
Oh, okay.
I read in the YouTube comments about this video, someone had a suggestion that for the 30th anniversary of this song, they should get all the babies in the video together and refilm it. Can you imagine? That'd be great, except Neil and Chris certainly wouldn't be able to hold the grown adults. And I'm sure that the babies that are now adults would rather have some clothes on and things like that. I don't know how they redo it.
They could put them all in onesies.
I guess so.
So I think this video is fun. I like watching the video. The babies, they're all really cute.
Yeah.
And I think it's an enjoyable performance clip with no big concept. I guess it does have a big concept, the future of humanity, but
that is pretty big.
it doesn't.
But
you can just watch it and not even think about it if you don't want to.
No.
Just see the pop stars with the babies, and it's fun to watch. It's cute.
Okay, so we have talked about the fact that this album is kind of taking place in the Imperial phase, or maybe ending the Imperial phase, because after Domino Dancing, their chart performances were not quite, never the same. They didn't have lots of number ones. But how did that correspond to the quality of their songwriting and their, the creative output? Did that mean that they were writing worse songs and, making worse music?
I don't think it corresponds at all, because I think that their best work was still to come. As mature writers, I think that the songs that were on Behavior that followed, even though some of those songs were old songs, like Jealousy, for instance, and To Speak Is a Sin, some of their best tracks are on Behavior, and even later on Very. And controversially, I think even You Only Tell Me You Love Me When You're Drunk from Nightlife, which I know is an album that a lot of people don't like, I think is a beautiful song. So I don't think the quality of their writing dipped at all. I think it was just public taste changed.
I agree with you completely when you say that Behavior is really a highlight in their catalog. That is, to me, their songwriting was perfect on that album. There's not a single bad song on there. There's not even a single song that I'm on. Every song is amazing.
Right.
Very, the follow-up to that. That was one when I first got it. It was kind of like, I didn't know how to explain that type of music. It seemed different to me from the other Pet Shop Boys albums that I'd heard, and I didn't know what it was supposed to be. I really loved the single, Can You Forgive Her? That was my favorite Pet Shop Boys song of all their songs when that album came out. At this point in my life, I can listen to that whole album the whole way through and love it. That's a fantastic record. So, they may be dropping off, especially here in America. They may be dropping off in terms of chart success, but that is a shame, and America missed out on some great singles. Being Boring, How Can You Expect to Be Taken Seriously? Can You Forgive Her? Once again, I'm going to say that's an amazing song. Go West. Those are all things that I think should have done really well.
Well, I'm going to go back down to Behavior, because you both mentioned how much you love that, and I just have to chime in and agree with you, because I think that is just a remarkable piece of music and composition. Everything just fits together so nicely. It's very, very well done. Definitely not any indication of lower quality. It is probably more, like Andrew says, a changing public taste that kind of prevented it. At least in America, it sounds like it did pretty well in the UK. I know they weren't number one, but, top 20, top 10 hits are still very, very respectable.
I always have trouble remembering that So Hard is from Behavior. I love that song, but it doesn't sound like it should be on that album to me. It has a different...
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, because you tend to think of Behavior as a very peaceful, calm album, don't you? Because it's about being boring and This Must Be the Place I Waited Years to Leave and all of those tracks. But
Jealousy, Only the Wind,
it was the lead single.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. Because I remember running out to get the 12-inch. That I think that they had not yet realized that America had moved on, because there was a lot of press and publicity about that record coming out. So I think to come to a conclusion, I think we all agree chart success dropping off does not at all reflect the quality of the Pet Shop Boys songwriting.
Correct.
They continued to be Top
Yes.
shelf.
Yes.
All right. I'm glad we agree on that.
Yeah, it is very good.
All right. So we've now all had time to think about what we are going to give the album Introspective as a final rating.
That's true.
And now we are all called upon, as a duty to the Pet Shop Boys and our nations to reveal our rating.
Okay.
Andrew Dineley, our esteemed guest, of course, is going to get the final word on this album. I'll go first. Folks, this is a fantastic record that really does, like I said, bring back some great comforting memories for me. Everybody else hears this as a great house dance music album. It makes me think of sitting there on the floor in my bedroom with the snow outside and the winter cold over Christmas, like I said. And the musical performances are up there with the Pet Shop Boys' best, I think. The drum programming is awesome. The bass is fabulous. I didn't stress enough on this episode, how much I love the bass on this album. They do a great job. And for the first time recording with an orchestra, I think they did amazingly. Neil's vocals here go from strength to strength. Sarah's going to tell you they drop off in the last song. But I hear a new confidence in his voice that he didn't have on Please and was kind of starting to grow into on Actually. So I think he's continuing to develop and getting stronger. They only wrote 2 songs, 2 new tracks for the album, but those 2 songs are amazing. And that trend is going to continue with their next album, Behavior, which, like I just said, has no bum tracks on it. Those are fantastic songs. So side 1 here, side 1 is perfect. I love all 3 songs. The energy level was high. The music evolves well. It's an amazing first half. Side 2 is where the cracks are going to begin to show just a little bit. I wouldn't get too concerned about what I'm about to say, but always on my mind is an inventive and clever mix. I like the breakdown. It's cool what they do with it. And it's neat that it was like a challenge for them to rebuild it back to what everybody knew. I respect what they did. But like I said, I spend the first half of this song just dying to hear the version of the song that I know. What they're doing is intelligent. It sounds perfectly fine, so I'm letting my own issues get in the way here with that one. It's Alright is, as we said, too long for what they do with it. Didn't deserve that much time. It's a good song, but it's not 9.5 minutes good. So, I wrestled with what I was going to give it as a final rating all week long, because way back in episode 3 or 4, I ranked Actually. And I wanted to make sure I didn't say this album was better than Actually. But you can't be too tied to what you said before, because that was like 2 years ago. I really didn't even know. I don't even remember how I came up with my ratings back then. I don't know how my brain worked. But I enjoy this entire album. I recognize it's not flawless, but that doesn't mean that it's not a great album. So I can't give it 5 out of 5 because of that last track. But I'm pretty comfortable saying that I think this record deserves a 4.5 out of 5. It's really close to perfect. I think they did a great job. Pet Shop Boys and house music is a much better mix than I ever thought that it would be. I enjoy it more than ever thought I would. Great record. 4.5 out of 5.
All right. Well, that was a very good, thoughtful, insightful explanation. I really appreciated that. You really gave us your reasoning very well. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Speaking of appreciating, I really do appreciate how groundbreaking this album was. I love when bands are in these creative, prolific periods and everything they do just clicks and it comes quickly and easily. This is definitely an example of that for the band. They're just churning out stuff left and right. They just can't stop making good stuff, making music, being creative. They're just in the groove. And this album has my very favorite Pet Shop Boys song on it, Left to My Own Devices. In my opinion, I think that is probably the quintessential Pet Shop Boys song. And it's the first track on the album. So it gets it off to a really, really great start for me. I give that song a 5, of course. It's a 5, no question. And the rest of side 1, I think, is very strong as well. Side 2 starts off strong too, but then for me, it does start to go downhill. Not a lot, but enough that I became conflicted as well about how to rate the album. And I decided to rely on good old math, as I have in the past, where I'm kind of not sure what to do. But I also had to take into consideration how I rated Actually back in episode 4 and think about how I like that album compared to this album. And I do know Actually better than I know Introspective. And I do like all of those songs, I think, as a whole. Well, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look and see if I rated them individually. But anyway, I did go ahead and rate each of these songs individually so that I could do my mathematical average and come up with the score. So I already told you I left to My Own Devices as a 5. I Want a Dog, Domino Dancing, I'm Not Scared. I gave those all 4.5 because they are all, to me, very strong songs. Always on My Mind in My House, 3.5. It's All Right. This one was where I was really struggling. It's a very touch and go song for me. Again, I love that single version. I have some issues with the album version. Tried to keep in mind what they were trying to do there. I ended up giving it a 3.5 as well. So my total was 25.5. When you average that out and round down, because it was below a 4.5. I end up giving this a 4. And I'm comfortable with that because I don't like it as much as Actually. But I think that still shows that I think it's a very strong album. So that's my rating.
I hope you can sleep tonight, Sarah.
Well, I think I can. I think I should be able to.
All right, fair enough. No, that does sound like a fair review based on everything you said. That seems about what I would have expected for you.
Okay.
I think you actually gave It's All Right a higher score than I thought you would have.
I did. And like I said, I originally had that really low. I think it was like at one point I think I had it at a 2.5, and I thought, well, that's ridiculous. It's not that bad. And so I just have to be a little more objective with it and understand what they were doing. I think all of us agree it's a little too long, so I felt a little better about that. But it is a good song. It's well done, and they try to keep to the original version. Okay, I can appreciate that.
All right, well, thank you. That was a very good justification of your score.
All right,
and it was interesting to hear.
Thank you.
Now, folks, friends, pet heads, we're up to Andrew Dineley. You know him, I know him, we all love him. Contributor to Classic Pop Magazine's Pet Shop Boys Special Edition, one of the main contributors to that. He has dedicated his life to collecting the Pet Shop Boys, so you're not going to get a more intelligently put together, a more worthwhile review of this album anywhere.
That's right.
So pay attention. Andrew, what do you rate the album Introspective by the Pet Shop Boys?
First of all, I should say I'm not going to break it down as forensically as you have. I'm going to go at it from a much more emotional perspective rather than sort of trying to do it mathematically, because I don't think I can't do it in that way. It wouldn't work for me. But to quote some lyrics from the album, generations will come and go, but there's one thing for sure, music is our life's foundation. And that's how I kind of judge this album, because for me, at that time, I was 21 years old, and music was just such an important part of my life. From this was the time when I'd fallen in love for the first time in my first relationship, just discovered the club scene, I was dancing with Chris Lowe on the dance floor, and there's a lot of very important things that are sort of around the period of this album, seeing them live. So it's not just about the tracks themselves, it's about what this whole album meant to me at that time, really. And it was an important collection of songs in their entirety, from track 1 through to track 6. So I can't sort of disconnect them in that way, really. I'd say it's not a perfect album musically, so it certainly doesn't get 5 record adapters. It doesn't get 5, but it gets very, very close to that. So I would have to be 4.5, I think, because I can't fault it in that respect. There's some songs that I like more than others, and there's certainly some Pet Shop Boys albums that I prefer to this album. So if I gave this 5, where would I go with Behaviour, for instance, which is a better album for me? So it has to be 4.5. It's near perfection, but not quite there.
I knew you were going to do a great job with it, and it doesn't hurt that you agreed with my rating, so that makes me like your review a lot too.
No, I appreciate it too, and I appreciate how much of the rating and the review is based on your personal experience, because of course that's what this podcast is all about, Permanent Record. We're talking about albums that have been a part of our lives and have made an impact on us, and that's exactly what you explained here in this review. Right.
I love that too, and that's sometimes people call us out on that. They say, like, I think you were letting your heart override your head when you came up with that final rating, but I think that's awesome. The fact that you mentioned how much it meant to you and those exciting times of your life that were happening right then with this record. That's like what music has always meant to me too. Like the most important albums in my life are things that correspond with those feelings and that experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cliche in some respects, but it is the soundtrack to your life, isn't it? And when you're growing up, particularly, it's such a potent part of it. You can hear a piece of music and it takes you right back to being 21 or whatever age. And I think 21 is an important age, really. There's kind of adulthood, isn't it? So for me it was that change, moving from my parents' house. I think I talked a bit about it. It was around the same time as The Innocents, wasn't it? Was that
yes.
What year was
right.
The Innocents? Yeah,
it was 88. Yeah.
So it's interesting that I was on for that episode and I was on for this episode, because both of those albums were so important to me at that time.
Well, I'm glad that we had you on to talk about them, because you've done a wonderful job and we've really enjoyed discussing them with you.
Yep, it's always great to talk to you. I always love when we just send her little emails about music trivia and little tidbits and stuff, but it's even better to have you on the show and get to chat with you for extended amounts of time. especially about great music like this.
Well, thanks for asking me. I mean, you do an incredible job with it. You know, the amount of research that's why I got in touch with you originally, just to say, wow, really? the amount of effort that goes into a podcast, just technically with the editing and, you know, putting the music on there and then sorting out all the uploading of it, you know, that's a big job in itself. But then on top of that, you know, you're great hosts, the amount of research that you do and the professional way that you put it together. It's a big round of applause for the two of you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, we're blushing over here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
My only regret is that the fact that we record episodes with you, you get to hear how really, truly terrible I am as we record, and then, you know, all this stuff gets edited out so other people don't realize it, hopefully. But you've heard me yell at myself as I struggle to come up with any sort of segue.
Well, that's the wonder of editing, isn't it? And
It sure is.
I recently shared one of my articles with you before it got edited, so you can see how rough they can be as well before they get cut down.
That's right. Oh, I forgot you sent me that. Oh my gosh.
We have to read it.
Yeah.
Have you? You haven't read it? Well, it's in print in 2 days, so you can.
I'm gonna read it tonight.
Now we're going to read the old version and the original version, and then read the edited version and see the difference. It'll be fresh in our minds.
I'm glad you said that. Jumping from 2 computers and iPads and my phone, I lose track of when people send me things sometimes.
All right, well, I guess we're finally done with our discussion of Pet Shop Boys Introspective, and it has just been a real treat, Andrew, having you on the show. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me. It's mutual.
Thanks for making time to join us for the discussion. And we wish you, of course, the holiday season is about to start in a month or so. And so we probably won't get to talk to you on the show again before the holidays. So I hope you have a great wrap up to 2018.
Thank you. You too.
Best wishes for the kickoff of 2019. Hopefully next year there'll be some sort of album that we all love that we can get together and talk about. And you have the George Michael special edition coming out in 2 days, which you can get on your news shelf if you're in the UK, or you can get online anywhere in the world. And you told us last time you're in the starting stages of a new episode of your podcast. You're just kind of starting to get your thoughts together for one.
Yes, yeah, that's kind of coming together. It's possibly before Christmas, but probably more likely early in the new year now.
Okay, well, you can make sure you don't miss it if it comes out in January. Go on to iTunes or your podcatcher of choice and subscribe to Art on Your Sleeve, hosted by the great Andrew Dineley. And every time he brings one out, you'll get it without even having to realize it. Like we told you last time, you're going to love the show. If you like the records that we talk about here, he gets so much good information from the folks that, you know, help put the record sleeves together and stuff. It's great to listen to. So.
Right, and you think we go into detail here. Well, he does at least as well, if not better, on his own.
Oh, yeah. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Hope you all enjoyed this look back at a great 30-year-old album, one that doesn't sound 30 years to me.
Nope, I agree.
And we will catch you next time. I think we have something coming up with our next episode to celebrate the release of the movie Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes, I think we should revisit that little rock group again. And
yeah, that little band called Queen.
Yes.
4 old ladies still rocking away.
Right.
We're going to take a listen and discuss their 1984 album, The Works.
Right.
So if you're a fan of Radio Gaga,
or I Want to Break Free,
Hammer to Fall, we're going to talk about all those great singles. Catch us next time. Go see the movie first, though. Oh, yeah. Andrew, did you see the movie?
I haven't yet, but okay. I will do.
Because it is out. You guys, we can't see it till Thursday night. Okay, well, thanks for listening, everybody. We're all going to sign off here in our own way, and my way is the worst. I just say, so long.
I'll say thanks a lot for listening, and take care.
I think it's going to be all right.
So happy
that summer, this isn't for the show, like people were getting like the bat insignia like shaved into the back of their heads. And back then I had a lot of hair. I wasn't bald then. And there was this guy in my dorm who everyone called Tools, and he would cut people's hair. And so I went to him and I was like, hey, Tools, can you shave the bat symbol in the back of my head? And he was like, sure, man. And he brought his chair out to the hallway and set up his clippers and stuff. And he was like, have a seat. And I sat down and he was like, so you want the Batman symbol? I said, yep. And he goes, all right. And he turned on the clippers and then he stopped and he said, but first, I'm going to need you to get your mom on the phone and have her tell me that it's all right to do this. And I was like, what? And he was like, I'm going to need your mom to say this is okay. And I was like, she's not going to say it's okay. And he goes, well, then I'm not doing it. And he turned off the clippers. And I was like, Tools, I'm in college.
You were 18 years old.
I'm 18 years old. I can make a decision about my hair. And he was like, no, I need your mom to say it's cool. And he put everything away. And I never got it done.
Oh,
Devastating.
I thought that was going to be worse. I thought you were going to say he did the Wonder Woman logo as a joke.
It would have been easier.
Yeah.
No, he didn't get anything.
Yeah. So that's one of my big regrets.
There's still time for a tattoo.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, for sure.
That's my only option.
Tattoo hair on your head.
Oh my gosh. I'm taking a lot of abuse.